Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Programming with a Purpose. Here I'm going to show you how to create a simple share animation with a share button. So this is how it will look like. So let's start creating this animation. First we have created a file named shareButton animation, which is a view. So here I am creating another view inside this view with the name of shareButton. It is going to basically handle all of the clicks and animations associated with a single button. So first we have created a button. We need to create some of the variables inside this share button for the animations to work. So first variable is basically is scaled, which means that it is already scaled or not. So with animation, we are going to use spring animation in both the button click as well as when it is going to appear on the screen with a certain response time and a damping fraction. You can copy the values here. You can play around with these values to see how the effect will going to basically look like. So first we are going to toggle this self dot is scaled, and after a certain time we need to basically bring the scale back to the normal value so that it seems like the button is scaled up and then moved back to its original scale. So for that I have created this simple line on line number 22 to move the scale back to the original scale. Now here I'm going to basically write the lines that is going to work with the display of this button. So there will be an image that is passed with this image button. So here I'll be passing this image name inside this struct share button, which is of type string. Next I'm going to resize this button and set its aspect ratio. And after that I'm going to set basically a frame width and height, which is basically 80/80. So a corner radius for the Facebook button, because its corner were not rounded. You can basically skip it if all of the buttons are rounded properly. Then there is another variable that I've added to this struct, which is opacity, and it is set to 0, which means that we want the button to appear after a certain time. So we have set its opacity to 0 initially, and after a certain time we are going to make it 1, which means that the button will appear on the screen. And after that I've set a button style. Now I'm creating some of the variables for the internal manipulation and animation inside this struct. So these are variables offset x, offset y, which is going to basically get updated when the animation is playing and the button is going to move on the screen. Next, we are going to basically pass two values from another struct, which is basically position x and position y. So these are the positions, or basically the increments that are going to be added to my offset x and y to update the UI within animation on screen. I'm going to show you in a while how this animation is going to look like with all of this code. So here I'm setting the offset with the initial values that I've set inside this struct. And the next we are going to basically add the scale effect, which is basically if it is scaled, we are going to make it to 1.2. Otherwise it is going to basically show the scale of 1. Now on appear, I'm going to add an animation that is going to toggle some of the variables, basically the variable offset x and y. We are going to update it according to this animation, and we are going to set the opacity to 1, which means that the buttons are then going to appear on the screen and their movement will start according to the offsets. So this is all for a single button animation inside this code. So here I'm checking the error, and the share button needs to have two other parameters in addition to the image name. So I'm passing the position x and position y here. And after that, it is going to pick this image from the assets, create a button and animate it on the screen like this. So you have seen that the Twitter button is animated from 0, 0 to this position, a certain position. These are basically the increments to the final position. So you can basically update the value and change the animation according to your needs. So this part of basically the function is where we are going to see that the animation is when the button is clicked, and this is the animation when the button just appears on the screen and translates along certain axes. So I'm going to move it back to 100, which is the default value that I'm using inside my code. Next, I am going to create another view inside this view, which will contain the 4 buttons for sharing and a cross button in between all of these buttons. So let's create another view with the name of share animation. It is going to contain 2 binding variables, which I am going to show you towards the end of this video that why we need these. One is hidden and is scaled. Now create a Z stack, and we are going to copy this share button inside that Z stack. So this is the Twitter button. Next, we are going to create an Instagram button with a certain position. So here I am adding the share animation inside the preview with some constant values for the binding variables, so that we'll be able to see what we are creating inside the share animation. So let's position the Instagram button at a certain -100 and 100 according to the position X and Y. The third button is going to be the Facebook button. There is a typo, so I am going to update the position as well as the image name, so it is appearing properly. The last one is going to be our Gmail button. So I'm going to adjust its position as well. So now these are all appearing according to their positions that I've set here. Next, I'm going to create an other button inside this Z stack, which is going to be a close button. So if we want to move back to the previous button or the previous view, we are going to press that button. So this is going to be a cross button. For that, I'm going to use the system name, and I'm going to set its foreground color as well as its size. So for size, I'm setting the font size for the system. So it is going to basically make the button enlarged, and then I'm going to set its foreground color. So after that, I'm going to set the button style. So this is all for this view. Now I'm going to do something inside this button click, which is basically making is hidden and is scaled to false to move back to my previous button. Now I'm going to move to the actual share button, which will basically upon clicking launch this share animation view. So let's create the share button. But before that, I'm going to create 2 variables which are going to handle the animation inside our main share button animation view. So we are going to set them to false because we do not want the button to scale and we do not want to hide our parent button. So let's start writing inside the var body sum view. So here I'm creating a button with the name share. And after that, I'm going to add the animation inside it. So when I'm going to click it with an animation, is scaled is going to be toggled, and after a certain time, we want the scale to return back to its normal value. And for that, we are going to basically make is hidden to true, which means that this button is going to hide. And what is going to happen is basically we are going to display another view, which means that after a certain time, this button is going to be animated to another view, which is our share animation view. So I'm setting some more properties of this button. Foreground style is set to dot pink, which is going to change the color of the text on the button, and a corner radius is set and a shadow is added. So this is how our button is going to look like. Next, we are going to add the scale effect according to the variable, and this scale is only on the x-axis, so we have added it to x, and the y scale will remain the same, which is 1.0. After that, if the button is hidden, we are going to move to the share animation, and for that we are going to move these 2 variable values, which means that is hidden and is scaled is passed there, which means that we are going to stop scaling once we are going to move to this share animation, and we are going to basically move is hidden to false when that button is clicked, so that will be able to move to the our parent view, which is going to show this share button. So let's see how it's done. So I am hiding both of these values. So when I'm going to press the share button, I'll not be able to move back. Now I'm going to uncomment the is hidden value is equals to false. It means that when we are going to cross the button, we will be able to move back to our parent animation. So let's play it. So we are moved to our parent animation, but the button is in scaled version. We want to move it to its original value. So we have made is scale to false. Now it has moved to the actual parent view. So this is all for this animation. I hope you have learned something from it. Do not forget to like and share this video, subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned. Next time I'm going to move to the animation of charts. So this is all. Thanks for watching.